On this video today, I want to talk to you about something a lot of people have. A lot of entrepreneurs have what I call entrepreneurial ADD. They really get bored easily. I submit to you that one of the reasons many people stay in struggle mode is because they get bored too easy. This video I'm going to entitle it Rinse and Repeat Riches. Boring business principles that can make you rich. Because when we think of making a lot of money, most of us think about it through a Hollywood lens. Now, what do I mean a Hollywood lens? Because when you think about movies about making a lot of money, they have some level of excitement. Maybe they are. Maybe it's something like they're making a lot of money in the stock market, and they're making it really, really fast. It's really, really exciting. It's really, really fast-paced. Or maybe it's like a movie where they're robbing a bank or they're robbing a train, and it's always some level of excitement. And so what happens is people expect getting rich to be exciting. Being rich is rather exciting. Getting rich is kind of boring. And if you are unable to do things that feel boring over a sustained period of time, the likelihood of you getting rich is highly unlikely. And so I want to talk to you about rinse and repeat riches. And I first noticed this when I used to be involved in network marketing. And I know some of you are going to hate on me for that. Well, oh well, do your thing, baby. When I used to do network marketing and I'd go to an opportunity meeting and some person who was in my upline would do a presentation and he'd absolutely crush it. And all these people would get enrolled and it was like the greatest thing ever. And then the next time he'd do a presentation, he'd do something different. I'm like, that's not how you did it last time. He said, yeah, I just kind of got bored with it doing it that way. Are you insane? You got bored with what worked. And so what happens is a lot of people, because the things that you do, the things that you must do to create wealth, to get reach, to have a prosperous life, many of those things are boring. Most people will not engage in the first place. And many people who do engage won't stay engaged because it's too boring. And I'm telling you, most of the things that I had to do to go from the trash man to the cash man, to go from the best job I've ever had in my life making $30 a year. Best job I've ever had in my life, or $30 a year, was how much I made. You say, yeah, but that was a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago, baby. Okay, it was in the 90s, right? 30,000 a year. And now I built the mindset difference between rich and broke business that averages over 30,000 a day, 365 days a year. How's that possible? Well, it's possible because I got really, really good at rinsing and repeating boring processes. And some of y'all are too thrill-seeking to get rich. Some of y'all need too much excitement. You need too much noise. You need too many flashing lights. And so, because of the stuff that actually makes you a lot of money is not exciting like they make it look in the movies where like H. But getting rich, I mean, if you let it be, it can be quite boring. So here's what we have to do. We have to learn, number one, to deal with the boring learning processes. So I'm going to come over here to my trusty digital blackboard. And so we have to learn, number one, to deal with the boring learning, oh boy, processes. Now, why do I say we have to learn to deal with the boring learning processes? Because here's the reality. If you knew how to get rich already, you'd probably be already doing it, right? So what if it were true that the difference between the wealth that you'd like to have and the wealth that you actually have is exactly the same as the difference between what you know and what you haven't learned and implemented yet? What if that's the gap? Well, now you gotta get involved in some processes, and learning can be boring. Learning can be like you have to, you gotta learn how to become the person. What is that? That's mindset, boring mindset stuff. You have to learn, it's so funny. You have to learn how to believe in something new. That takes time. You have to learn how to respond differently. Is it so interesting? Like if you look at the process of transformation, and I taught this a while ago, but I missed something, and I taught there's 6 steps of 6 phases of transformation, or 6 stages of transformation. 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And so when you start out with transformation begins with awareness. You gain this new awareness. And with that awareness, you gain this new awareness, and you become aware of a possibility that has not been your experience. You're like, hey, yeah, I like that. And then you set an intention, right? And so you set an intention. Okay, I intend to do that. And then you make a decision. And so when you make this decision, which is not the same as a choice, by the way, because choose means what? Pick one. But decide means what? To cut yourself off from any other possibility. So you can make a choice and change your mind. But if you make a decision, you don't change your mind. Why most people fail in business, are you tracking? So you make a decision, so you have intent, you have awareness, intention, decision, discipline. Oops, not discipline, discipline. So you have discipline, which means now that I made the decision, I'm going to keep doing this thing that I decided to do. And then the next one that you have to have is recognition. You have to recognize that you've made progress. So many people have been doing things for such a long time and have not given themselves any credit. Like you have not even acknowledged the progress you made. And because you haven't acknowledged the progress you made, you're not inspired to make more progress. And then the last one is, I'm going to add another color, blah, blah, is celebration. So that's cool. But here's one of the things that I realized you can give up in any one of these phases if you don't have the foundational principle of what color am I going to make it? A foundational principle. You need something under this. And this thing under this is called resolve. What is resolve? Resolve is when you don't quit. I'm not going to quit. It's not that I don't feel like quitting. I'm not going to quit. It doesn't like I ain't feeling this right now. But why do what causes people to have resolve? Where does resolve come from? Resolve comes from, this is so good, I'm getting chills thinking about it. Resolve comes from belief that my outcome is going to be favorable. In other words, I believe it's going to work. Belief in a favorable outcome is where my result. Why do people quit? They quit as soon as they no longer have the ability to believe it's going to work. Oh, snap. And so what's really interesting, so you want to test your resolve. How anybody want to test your resolve? Okay, one of the things that you can do to test your resolve is cold plunging, okay? Right? That'll test your resolve. And you don't have to cold plunge your whole body. You can cold plunge your hand. Take like some ice, put it in a pot or in a bucket and put that ice in, and then put your hand in it and box breathe, which means you breathe in for 4 seconds. You hold it for 4 seconds. You exhale for 4 seconds. You hold that for 4 seconds. And you do that the whole time. And keep your hand in there for 3 minutes. I want you to, the danger of chasing trends, pay attention. When you do that to the messages your subconscious mind starts telling you, you're going to get frostbite and lose your fingers. This is crazy. I don't know why this man told me. You can't do that. Nobody can do that. And just take inventory of the things that you're by, okay? You're not in a cold plunging, okay? Okay, let me give you another one. Here's one. Dead hangs. You want to test your resolve, you grab an overhead bar and you let all your weight in your hands. Okay, and see how long you can do it. The average person can't do it 30 seconds. So I was talking to my fitness coach and the longest I had ever done a dead hang is like 1.5 minutes. Okay, that's the longest. And then I do it, but I do it. I do it a lot. Like almost every day I do like at least a 1 minute dead hang, right? And so I'm doing this dead hang and my fitness coach says, well, if you can do 1.5 minutes, you're like in the top 3% of male athletes in the world. If a woman can do it for like a minute, I'm like, if I can do it for 1.5 minutes, oh, I can do it for 1.5 minutes. He said, if you can do it 2 minutes, you're like really elite. I'm like, 2 minutes, I know how hard 1 minute is. And I definitely know how hard 1.5 minutes is. But I had never done 2 minutes. But I was like, I don't have to do it for 2 minutes. I just have to do it for 1.5 minutes and then do one more breath and then 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 one more breath. And guess what happened? 2 minutes and 2 seconds. I was like, I didn't know I could do that, but I had decided. And then he said that people have done it like it's dope. And so when I found out it was dope, I asked the question, why not me? And I wanted to test my resolve. As soon as you feel like I could have gone longer probably, but as soon as you feel like it's not going to work, you stop working on it. That's true for your business. That's true for your presentations. That's true for your websites. That's true for your webinars. That's true for your whatever. It's true for your sales calls. It's true for your building a YouTube channel. As soon as this isn't working. And as soon as you feel like it's not working, you stop working on it. But the reason you feel like it's not working is because you've forgotten that all works. How do I know all works? Because that's what the Bible says. In all labor there is profit. And see, systems over motivation, here's what I can realize. When it's not working for me, then it's working on me. Here's the question I have to answer for myself. Am I willing to allow the process to work? The boring process to work on me long enough for me to become the person for whom it can work. Now, my brother's right back there. He'll tell you. He remembers what it was like when I'd be up all night working on a Volkswagen Beetle cuz I put it in the paper. I would put pressure on myself by putting it in the paper to sell it the next day. And so I'd have to get it done, right? And he'd come out and sacrifice his life on the line with me. And for me, like, bro, don't do this, man. I don't even want to be out here, Ice, right? Don't die with me, right? That's what I used to say anyway. But I did a whole bunch of stuff that didn't feel like it was working for a very, very, very long time. I started as an entrepreneur when I was 25. Didn't have my first six-figure a year until I was 38. Didn't have my first seven-figure year until I was 43 or 44. That's a long time for it to feel like it's not working. But guess what? Thank God I had some resolve. So mindset, boring learning systems like mindset, and you've heard me give the, NS times SS equals assets, so mindset. Then the next one is going to be tool sets. You need to get some tool sets. Here's what's interesting. It doesn't matter what business you're doing, or what business you're doing, or what business you're building, or how you're creating wealth. There are going to be some tools required. When I worked on cars, I needed mechanic tools and I needed bodywork tools. And when I started making money on the internet, well, even before I started making money on the internet, when I started making money by doing seminars, because I started doing seminars way before I started doing stuff online, I was doing live events and I needed cassette tapes, blank cassette tapes, and I needed tape duplicators, and I needed tape labelers, cuz when I started, we sold cassette tapes and I needed cassette albums, and I had to buy all of these tools, right? So you need tool sets, and then you had to learn how to use the tools. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. And then lastly, skill sets. So my skill set, I need to develop the ability to use these tools. And by the way, all of this stuff is boring. I read a book, the longest physical book I've ever read in the shortest period of time. It took me 2 weeks. It's 2 Fordham pages, 220-something pages. And it's a book that I would recommend for everybody, even if you think you're not the power of repetition and consistency interested in what the title suggests. And my good friend Pastor Tom Garrett gave me this book. And I'm telling you, it changed my life in ways I didn't know my life could be changed. And it's called Anyone Can Play Music. Anyone can play music. Now you think, but I don't want to learn how to play music. Doesn't matter. Or it'll change how you learn how to do everything, because it was written by a guy who's a banjo player. But he's also a brain doctor. It was so good on so many different levels. Okay, so you got to deal with the boring processes of becoming the person. You've got to learn, the more you got to go through the boring learning processes so you can become the person. I didn't realize, I know that some of you probably feel frustrated based on where you are as you look at all you've done, right? And I can remember being there. I can remember when I was an evangelist and I was traveling around in churches and I teach the Bible, why are people not inviting me to come speak at their church? Why I used to remember thinking that I wouldn't say it, but I was thinking it. Why won't they invite me to come speak at the church? I mean, even now I don't get invited to speak at very many churches, and I don't even churches anything. They don't even have to pay me. I just go speak for free just because I love the word, and I love people who love the word, right? I still don't get invited that many, oh, okay, cool. I didn't realize that when I was learning how to study the Bible, and when I was learning how to communicate clearly biblical messages, I didn't understand that it wasn't just preparing me for what I thought my life was supposed to be about. It was preparing me for what God knew my life was supposed to be about. The reason this whole experience exists is because of all of the boring processes I allowed myself to go through. I remember the very first time I ever spoke, did a sermon. It was on a Sunday school bus. It was terrible. My hands were in my pocket. A lot of ums, a lot of looking at the floor. We got elementary school kids. I can't even look them in the eyes. I know it's hard for you to imagine, but like I remember it. And then Kim, who was the bus captain with me, she said, you can't stand up there and talk with your hands in your pocket the whole time. Like, I didn't even realize my hands were in my pocket. And so my point is that we often think we should be how boring principles create leverage further along than we are. Yes. But we don't realize really how far we've come, and we don't realize what it's preparing us for. We think we know, but we can't know until it becomes self-evident, right? So you got to deal with the boring learning processes. Are you okay with what blows my mind? I understand that most people never read a book after they graduate from high school or graduate from college. That's fascinating to me. Like, there's never a time in my life where I'm not reading something, learning something. Why? Because the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Okay, I'm done ranting on that. You got it. Okay. Deal with the boring churning processes. What does that mean? That means the foundational processes that have to be in place in order for you to make something work. So, interestingly enough, when I got started on YouTube back in 2007, I had no idea that YouTube was a monetary platform that could grow an audience that could make so fascinating. I had all this stuff available to me, but my lack of what? Awareness. My lack of awareness didn't create any transformation. I had no awareness that YouTube would pay you millions of dollars for creating content that you would create for free. That's fascinating to me still to this day. I had no idea that YouTube, just putting videos on YouTube, just teaching stuff on YouTube, I had no idea that would cause millions of people to say, I love your message. I had no idea, no idea. When I think about the fact that when I look at my YouTube studio and I see that my videos have 16 million views in the last 28 days, I'm like, what does that even mean? The video we did that we released last Monday, I'm on vacation. The video we released last Monday, when I looked at it this morning, it had 150 something, and see, I don't remember. I should pay more attention to what I'm paying attention to. And it had it at 154,000 views from last Monday, 22 LA, and I want you to think about this. 2,100 watch hours in 7 days. There are 8760 hours in a year. People spent 2.5 years around the world, spent 2 in one party 2 years. I was watching a 20s a minute video that I released last Monday. What are we talking about? I don't have the ability to understand that. But guess what I did? Guess what I did have the ability, wealth, is built quietly to do. I had the ability to last through the boring churning processes, the foundational work. So here's what's interesting. I was thinking, how can I help people become better at creating content? How could I help people become better at getting whatever their particular message is out? And I think the person who gave us the best advice on this did it in a question form, and his name is Alan Iverson, talking about practice. You're talking about practice, and I started thinking about that. I was practicing my communication skills when I didn't know I was practicing. I remember hearing when I was 17 years old, I remember hearing this sermon by this guy named Johnny Pope. He's a pastor in Houston now. Very good friend of mine. I can't believe Pope. He's 60, he's 74. He's exactly 10 years older than me. He was 27, I was 17. And I heard this message by him called, What a Name. And he said, what isn't a name for people who have left their mark in this world? Their name is almost a one-word biography. When we think of Moses, we think of a powerful human being with uplifted hands with a rod in those hands leading 2 million people. When we think of Alexander, we think of a great wild young man who conquered so much of the world by the age of 30. When we think of Doynes, we think of that great silver-tongued order of Greece who even made men like Philip of Macedon tremble. When we think of Shakespeare, we think of one whose ink flowed from his pen like golden pollen off shaken lies. When we think of Will Rogers, we think of one with wit and wisdom that few people have. And on. I could name you different name. I'm thinking to myself, I just listened. I wasn't trying to memorize that. I just listened to it so many times because I only had like 5 tapes. I just listened to them over and over. I didn't know that there was going to come a time when I was 18 or 19 years old. My pastor would say, you know that sermon that you memorized? Well, I didn't really memorize it. I just listened to it a bunch. I'll let you preach in church if you preach that sermon. Like, okay. I didn't know what I was doing is I was building an inventory of communication segments. I didn't know that that's what I was doing when I heard B.R. Leakin say, the devil's pearls are paid pearls, they have no value. He long-term thinking vs short-term pleasure, his dime is a lustrous plastic. His nectar turns out to be hog slop, and if you eat the corn he'll choke you on the cob. Yes, he will. The devil always pays in counterfeit money. I didn't know that I was preparing to be a communicator. See, I didn't realize then that when I listened to people who talked like that, listening to people who talk like that caused me to think like that. Are y'all tracking? Yes. And I would listen to tapes literally hundreds and hundreds of times. One of my favorite sermons by S.M. Lockage. This devil encumbered and mesmerized with his own beauty and enchanted with his own wisdom and exalted because of his own importance feels that he can replace the sovereign reign of God. I didn't know that I was preparing to become a better communicator. I was just listening to something that sounded good. But if we read more things that read well and we listen to more things that listen well, it'll give us the ability to communicate better as we communicate our message. Because it's not just that we're taking in the information. We're actually going through a process of laying a foundation of becoming a better communicator. I tell people all the time, you want to be a better communicator, read more, write more. And I'd say read more, write more, talk more, listen more. You want to be a better communicator, those are the 4 things. If you do those 4 things, it's virtually impossible for you not to become better on some level, okay? You have to do the churning foundational work. Guess what? You know what was churning foundational work for me? Learning how to sell. I was so bad when I got started in sales, selling insurance and investments. I started in October of 1985. I did not make my first sale until April of 1987. I did a lot of presentations. Most people would say, well, this isn't working. Well, sure it was working. Now, people pay me millions of dollars to come and teach them how to sell stuff. It was working. It was working on me. And it had to work on me until the switch flipped. And I became the person for whom it could work. I made that one sale. And guess what I found? I found a process that would get to yes. And instead of getting bored with that process, I put that process on rinse and repeat. And it's the same process I use today. Some 30 years later, 80, 95, 2005, 2015, 40 years later, I thought it was 40. But I thought, no, it couldn't have been that long. I'm still the same process. Why? Because it works. I don't discipline is more valuable than talent. Get bored with what works. So we did an event called Content and Cash Flow in Dallas, Texas, right in June. Well, guess what? We're doing another one in Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah, in October. Why? Because it worked. You say, what do you mean it worked? I have a friend. I play golf with him. The most he had ever gotten was like a couple 100,000 views on a video. One of the things that he learned while he was at Content and Cash Flow, he's gotten at least 7 videos that have over 1 million views. Some of them have 2, 3, 4 million views. Not because he bought something while he was there other than the ticket to be there, but what he learned while he was there gave him the ability to get millions of views on videos that the most he ever gotten before was hundreds of thousands. You think he's glad he went? Yeah, probably. It's just a guess. So there's foundational work. The foundational work is boring when you're laying a foundation for something. Here's the thing about the churning foundational work. It's the work you do as an entrepreneur before the paycheck shows up. See, here's how having a job works. Works like this. Go to work, go to work, go to work, go to work, get paid, go to work, go to work, go to work, go to work, get paid. Here's how being an entrepreneur works. Go to work, 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 get paid, go to work, go to work, go to work, get paid, go to work, go to work, get paid, go to work, go to work, get paid.
Get paid, get paid.
Get paid, go to work. Get paid, get paid. Go to work, get paid, get paid. Get paid, get paid. Get paid, get paid. Get go to work. Get paid, paid. Get paid, get paid. Go to work. Get paid, get paid. Go to work, go to work. Get paid. Get go on vacation, get paid. Get paid, get paid, get paid. I was on vacation for 30 days. I just got back, I was on. But aren't you afraid your business is going to go? No, my business did well. But I mean, it didn't do as much as it usually does because I was gone. I'd applying boring principles in your business wasn't working. I'm okay with that. But cash collected somewhere between $300 and $400 and while I was gone. That ain't Bill Gates rich, but it's better than a sharp stick in the axe. Why? Because I was willing to do the work when it wasn't paying me yet. The farmer does not plant the seed today and hope to reap the harvest tomorrow. The farmer knows after he plants the seed, he's got to go all the way through the end of spring and all the way through the end of summer before he can reap the harvest. And you know what he does while he's waiting on the harvest? He weeds the garden, he waters the crops, he cultivates the soil, he fertilizes the soil. But what he doesn't do is he doesn't go and dig up the seeds early, and he doesn't harvest the seeds early. He waits for the gestation period. And see, some of y'all get too bored between the time you plant and the time of gestation and the time of harvest. You get bored in the gestation period. But what you don't realize is if you stop getting bored in the gestation period and you just keep on putting your processes on rinse and repeat, eventually your gestation periods get shorter and your harvest times come more frequently. I wish I had some help in here. So it's boring. It's boring building foundational works. It's boring building frameworks. It's boring. Hey, you know what? You know what's exciting? Getting 154,000 views on a YouTube video in 7 days. That's exciting. You know what's not exciting? Preparing and researching and thinking and coming up with an idea that enough people will care about that can get 154,000 views in 7 days because years and years and years and probably decades of studying and preparing and becoming went into the awareness that all of a sudden I became alerted to that caused me to create a video called Talk Better, Do Better. Who'd think that a video called Talk Better, Do Better? I mean, that's like if there ever was third grade language. That's third grade language. Talk better, do better, level up your communication to level up your life. Who would think that that video would get 154,000 views in 7 days? I wouldn't have thought that. But guess what? It's all the stuff that you couldn't see. It's the stuff, it's the gravitropic work that we do when nobody can see us that makes us worth looking at when everybody can. What are you doing when the cameras are off is what makes you worth watching when the cameras are on. The foundational work, the frameworks. What is a framework? A framework is a systematic final motivation, stay boring, get rich way of doing a thing so you don't have to reinvent it next time. Guess what? If you had to reinvent something next time, that'd be pretty exciting. But creating a framework and you just kind of go through that same framework every time you do it, that's kind of boring. Some people say some of my comments sometime I just basically repeats the same concepts over and over. He just says them in a different way. Yes, that's right. Do you know why? Because we have to hear things 7 different times, 7 different ways from 7 different people before we get it. It's a human experience and our sinful flesh is not good at retaining truth for very long. We hold on to it for about a couple hours, maybe a couple of days, then it's gone. So frameworks and then finishing work, the finishing touches that you have to put on stuff. To me, when I'm writing a book, the hardest part is like the last part of the editing and the formatting. I don't do it myself, but I pay somebody to do it, and then I got to go back and read the finishing work, the stuff, the minutia and the details that go into finishing it. Brutal. Boringly, like brutally boring. But guess what? That's the stuff that makes the difference. Like, you know what's exciting? Oh, we're gonna do content and cash flow live in Omaha, Nebraska. I might even invite Warren Buffett. Okay, just kidding. Well, I might invite him. Yeah, why not? Why not invite him? Hey Warren, I'm going to be doing this conference called Content and Cash Flow Live. I would love to interview you in front of my audience. I think Melissa remind me to send an email to Warren Buffett's people. See if he'll fall. See if he'll go for that anyway. It's if I don't ask, it's already a no, right? I might as well ask and get like a legit no. Okay. But you know what's not fun? Oh, building the funnel, writing the copy, inviting the speakers, getting the speaker agreement signed, logistics, planning the schedule, all that stuff. That's boring. But it's boring stuff that has to get done. It's the stuff that nobody sees while you're doing it, but everybody notices if you don't get it done. That's the work that'll make you rich. Okay, now I'm gonna get to something that you didn't think could be boring. Y'all ready? We talked about the boring learning process. We talked about the boring churning process. Let's talk about the boring earning processes, because a lot of earning processes are boring. I'm going to start with a what is that? Audience attraction. Audience attraction is boring. Do you know why? Because you don't attract an audience by attempting to attract an audience. That's where most people mess up. And here's what I mean by that. They're attempting to be interesting. You know why your videos are boring? Because you are attempting to be interesting. And people who attempt to be interesting are boring. If you don't believe me, go to a cocktail party or you're any kind of party, networking event, and start talking to people, and the people who are trying to be interesting and they talk about themselves the whole time and they try to sound amazing are like, oh man, if this person will just breathe for a half a second, I'm out of here. I'm going to exit stage left, stage right. I just got to exit, right? But the way to attract an audience is not by attempting to be interesting, but it's by seeking to be interested. It's only interested people who are interesting. See, I have to be interested in something that you're interested in. And I have to be interested enough in you to do a deep dive on that topic so that when I'm talking to you, you and I have something to talk about. Wow. Can you say that for me backwards on the front row? Wow, is what I'm saying making some sense? So, if I could challenge you to do something that will make I think about some of my favorite YouTube channels. They're not good because the people are interesting. They're good because the people are interested. The people are interesting because they're interested. They've learned something that I want to learn, and they talk about it in a way that makes sense to me. Here's what's fascinating. I don't do any of y'all watch for Veritasium YouTube channel. You watch it, yeah. So this is a guy he's basically a scientist, and he does science experiments and runway YouTube channel, and he does maybe 1 or 2 videos a month. But he's got like 5 million subscribers, and he does some of the most fascinating experiments I've ever seen on science. You think that can't be interesting? So interesting. You say, what's your point? The reason he's interesting is because he's interested in how things work. If you will become interested in how things work, you will be like how things that like in your niche work. You will be so interesting to the people you serve. It'll blow their minds, and it'll blow your mind how much it'll blow their mind, and they will be attracted to you. I had no idea. Like, I'm interested in the Bible. I'm interested in business. I'm interested in making money. Well, a lot of people are interested in making money. I knew that, but I didn't know this many people would be interested on like biblical principles of making money. I had no idea they'd be interested. I didn't do it because I wanted to be interesting. I did it because this is what I'm interested in. And I started talking about, I was like, oh, lo and behold, I ain't the only who knew, right? So audience attraction, you attract an audience by being interested. And I know that sounds like an oversimplification. And then being interested enough in them to share what you learned as you were interested. It's so simple. Does it sound like y'all can tell me if I'm oversimple? Does it sound like I'm oversimplifying? Because I don't mean to, but I'm like the other stuff that the nuances you'll figure out as you do it. Anyway, at least that's been my experience. Okay, audience attraction process is boring, brand building boring. But man, there are very few things you can do in business that will make you more money than building a personal brand. Notice I didn't say there are very few things you can do in business that will make you more money than building a business brand. I didn't say that. There are very few things that you can do in business that will make you more money than building a personal brand. And when I say building a personal brand, I mean by that building a story, a reputation that you are known for when your name is called. That's what I mean. Personal brands create way more wealth than business brands. Elon Musk's brand is bigger than the Tesla brand. It's bigger than the SpaceX brand. It's bigger than the X brand. I don't like Elon Musk. It doesn't matter. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about his brand. Steve Jobs has been dead since 2011, and his brand is still bigger than Apple's. You're going to be known for something. You're either going to be known for something by design, or you're going to be known for something by default. Just makes more sense to me to be known for something by design. If I'm going to be known for something anyway, I might as well figure out what I'd like that to be and make it that. Are y'all tracking? Yes. Brand building, like, what do you want to be known for? C, it's fascinating that people don't realize you're going to be far. You're going to be known based for what you're known, based for what you're known for, based on your character more than you're known for what you're known for based on your talent. Character is, are you a person of your word? Do you show up when you say you're going to show up? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Does your word become your flesh? Like, what is your brand? You know, my brand is, hey, I'm going to do my best. Like, hopefully this is what I'm known for. I don't know if this is what I'm known for or not, but I hope it is. I don't know. I don't. Okay. I am an individual who seeks to represent the kingdom of God by yielding to God and serving people. Hopefully, that's what I'm going to be known for. Hopefully, that's what I am known for. Hopefully, when I show up, you feel like I'm showing up for you. Hopefully. If not, I have to do better. You know why? Here's one of the things I found out. Y'all ready? This is a great discovery. Y'all ready? Everybody say, I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, here it is. You like you better than you like me. Yeah, you do. You like you better than you like me. I don't care if you're on YouTube. If you're in this room, you like you a whole lot more than you like. So if I will show up for you, you're going to show up. You tracking. See, here's what I realized a long time ago. I can want people to care about the stuff I care about all I want them to, but they don't like me that much, but they like them. So if I can demonstrate that I care about you, oh, when I show up, you're going to show up. How's that for a hack? So brand building. And then the last one I'm going to cover that will make you rich beyond your wildest imagination is content creation. These are the ABCs, y'all. The ABCs of the earning process are audience building, brand building, content creation. You create content. Guess what your content does? Your content goes out and makes you findable for people who'd like to pay you. I was on vacation for 30 days. There's a young man who lives in California. How many of y'all know I don't live in California? Okay. There's a young man who lives in California who found me on YouTube and decided he wanted to buy a VIP day. Wow, I never gave him a presentation. I never had a conversation with him. I didn't know he existed until when he bought a VIP day. 31 years old, bought a VP day. I wasn't looking. I'm somebody buys a VP day. I don't care if nobody buys anything while I'm gone. I'm going on vacation, and me and my wife, the greatest time. 40th anniversary. Had the greatest time. So, came back so refreshed. Other than the fact we were jet lagging a little bit, but I made myself sleep all night on that plane so that when I got back, I wouldn't have to do this whole long reset thing. But it's the content that I created that made that possible. Like, content creation has made me more money in my life than sales presentations could ever hope to make me. In the last 3.5 years, I want you to wrap your mind around what I'm about to say. In the last 3.5 years, YouTube has paid me over $1.5 million. In the last 3.5 years, my Bible study channel since LA July 1st last year has paid me over $100,000 to teach the Bible that I teach for free. Child, please, here's somebody better figure out somewhere the thing that you are doing is camera worthy. I'm in Africa out in the bush. No, I was in a bush, I think. Yeah, I'm out in the bush. The glamping safari reserve had a TV. I'm watching guys buy old raggedy cars like I used to do, fix them up and sell them. The only difference is they were doing it in front of a camera. I'm telling you, you're the best pressure washer I have ever seen. It blows my mind. Like how could he get my sidewalks and my patio and my driveway like way cleaner for way longer than anybody else who's ever done it, right? I don't even think you understand the level that your business would grow if you'd hire a part-time videographer to make one video of you doing like one video a month, one video a week of you doing pressure washing. Change the game. Whatever you're doing is camera worthy. You say, well, I'm making dinner for my family. Turn on a camera. Stop being stubborn. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to fuss at you. Yes, I did. All I'm saying, y'all, getting rich is boring, but being rich is so exciting. It's worth it because when you're rich, you can do stuff for the people that you care about that you couldn't do when you were poor. When you're rich, you can do stuff for the causes that you care about that you couldn't do when you were poor. When you're rich, you can say yes to your family about things that you used to have to say no to. I think to me, the two most valuable things that I've gotten out of becoming rich is when I can buy back my time. Because I believe that the quality of one's life is not measured by the number of years of experience they have doing a thing, but by the number of experiences they put in those years. And so having money gives me the ability to spend more time with my wife, because we pay somebody to clean our house, and we pay somebody to cut our grass, and I pay people to fix my car, and I pay people to clean my pool. I'm not saying that as a flex. I'm saying I just have more time to spend with the people I love, and then I get to pay money to people so that they can support the people they love, and everybody wins. It don't get no better than that. Are y'all tracking? Yes. But the second thing is, when you have money, you can pay for experiences that you can't get any other way. Yes, I was telling the folks in the studio, and I'm gonna do a whole video on it, how my wife and we went on our vacation, but responsible Myron lost my passports on a flight. They fell out of my pocket while I was sleeping, and we got deported from London. We got deported from England and sent back to America, and I wasn't gonna fly commercial again and have a connecting flight because it's a disaster. I didn't even tell, here's what's tragic. When we were going to the Dominican Republic, when we were going to the Dominican Republic, there was a lady who was going, the flight was delayed so bad that she was basically going to miss the thing that she was going for. She only had a couple days, or maybe it was when we were coming back. I don't know, she was missing part of her vacation. So her and her son just got off the plane crying because they missed their vacation, because these airlines are duplicitous. They do not care. They don't even pretend that they pretend to care, but they don't care. But that's another story. So anyway, we got sent back to America, and so I could only find connecting flights because my vacation had to pick up in the middle, because we planned to go from the DR to Portugal, from Portugal to Italy, from Portugal to Spain, Spain to Italy, from Italy to Dubai, and from Dubai to South Africa. So we went to the DR, we got sent back. We were flying through London to get to Portugal. I lost my passports. So we missed our whole Portugal, and we missed part one day in Spain. And so now I got to get back to Spain, but there's no direct flights to Spain from anywhere in the US that I could find that made sense, first-class flights. So I said, forget it, I'm just gonna charter a jet. It was $1,000 or $8,000 to charter a jet. I'm not flexing, that's not why I'm telling you that. Here's why I'm telling you that. Because I chartered a jet, I got to invite my daughter, my son-in-law, and my granddaughter to come with us. And the experience of playing skip and go fish on that jet with my granddaughter at 6 years old, and she's talking trash like a professional, is an experience that both of us will remember for the rest of our lives. I don't think she thought I was fun until then. She loves my wife. My wife is fun. And my wife plays with her like she's 6 years old, right? But on that trip, she learned my pop is fun. That's worth way more than $100,000 to $18,000 to me. And all I'm saying is the experiences that you can have and the time that you buy back are the greatest value that I get from being rich. Anyway, I hope this video helps you, and if it does help you, send it to somebody else. Share it with somebody. Help them. In the meantime, in between time, stay blessed by the best. Hopefully I'll see you in Omaha, Nebraska content and cash flow live. Stay blessed by the best, my peeps. Peace out.